And welcome back to another Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast. Thomas and Majona with you.
Hello, hello.
Majona's back. We're going to talk about some energy today. I wanted to bring her back in here because this is something that we've been observing, feeling, experiencing ourselves, and hearing so many people mention it as well that I just thought this is something that we need to unpack. So have you not been on social media in the last month and seen some kind of post almost all the time about how people are struggling right now?
Right. Everybody's asking for prayer or support of some sort.
And you know, the sad thing, and really kind of a trigger for this conversation, is most recently seeing some posts of people who are not with us anymore. And that was kind of a big wake up, because I saw one yesterday, and it was somebody that I knew in Colorado. And that was like an OMG.
It's everywhere. And when it hits close to home, wow.
I'll tell you what, that one took me a little while to swallow that one. Didn't know the person well, but was kind of even into the metaphysical stuff. So that was like there's no immunity.
Right.
Well, you had a phone call this morning.
I did. A client in the same situation with a family member.
So, of course, if you've been listening to this, you know that we're talking about this astronomical and astrological formation. Saturn and Pluto are going to be conjunct in January, so that means they're just going to be in alignment in the sky. Something that happens very rarely, but something that is very significant.
And although we're feeling it in so many challenges right now, ultimately it's really a great thing. I'm looking for the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, you have to go through transformation. But, you know, when I started this journey even 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I guess now, it's coming up, it's getting longer.
That's a good thing.
You know, I will be 60 in just about a week.
I know that.
It's like, oh, man. So this has been something that has been in the brew. It is over our heads right now. And honestly, this energy is going to be pretty much in play for most of next year. And the effect of this, the long-term effect of this, I don't think we know yet. What I would say is that we are in a new paradigm of energy.
Yeah, it's like, you know, how many times do you hear people say, Mercury must be in retrograde because it's messing with me, and it gets all these blames. But then it goes direct and energy releases, it lightens up, and you're okay. And the thing is, this isn't releasing. It's just persisting on and on.
Well, that's why I've come to love the symmetry of astrology, because you can look at this, and then when you look at what's going on in somebody's life or in the world, you see symmetry.
And what do you see here?
Boy, that's the dead air question of the podcast right there.
Putting you on the spot, Mr. Astrology Wizard.
Hey, all I do is just call where the ball game is going to be. I don't say who's playing and what the score is going to be. I just tell you where the ball game is.
You're a chart
That's
reader,
enough.
not a psychic.
Well, I think that's a good point, because if people want to look at astrology predictively, I've got a pretty good example that I like to say on that, is if we got in a jet fighter plane and flew over to Colorado and then just took that thing right down to 50 feet off the ground, what's the likely chance of having a problem?
Pretty darn high.
You know, rock outcroppings, trees, terrain changes, like you are flying way too fast, way too low. But if we get in a nice Cessna plane and go up to 5,000 feet, we can see the water towers. We can tell what town we're flying over just by reading the water tower. If we go up too high, we can't see anything, right? It just all looks flat and the clouds get in the way. So that's why I like to just not get too close to the ground, and because I think astrological predictions are like anybody else who tries to forecast anything in the future. You got a 50-50 chance, right? Because why is that important? You know the answer. Now, see, I got her.
I was like, free will. We all have free will. It's like,
you can make choices, right?
Yeah.
And we collectively can make choices. So that's the bogey there. Why I think anybody who tries to predict this or that, energy can change, and it can change fast.
Just by knowing the energy, it changes.
That's the message of this podcast right there, is that this energy is really focusing on one specific area. So again, I can tell you this is going to be a baseball game, right? Let's talk about what the structure of this is, because that's the important word. This whole thing is calling us to build good, solid, strong foundations in our life. Not only for the future of this incarnation. You might be in your 20s or 30s or 40s. You might be in your 60s or 70s or beyond. It's also the structure that you're building for the future, for future soul journeys on this or other locations.
And how will that be evidenced in future lifetimes?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, this is one of the things in doing these astrology readings that has become really evident is that it's collective karma. So it's things that we brought with us into this life from past existences that was not dealt with. It's the stuff that got swept under the carpet. And see, when I was changing, when I was sorting out my life of what didn't work and what did and piecing this together, I came across Darren Weissman, and I don't see or hear from him very much anymore, but he mentioned, he was the guy that really kind of woke me up to past lives, like energy that is carried forth before you're born. And coming up in the very fundamental background that I did, that was taboo.
Right. So we're knowing in this lifetime, you can see what you carried through in your South Node, right?
I spent a year sitting in a lawn chair behind an RV picking my life apart. And part of that revealed stuff that I couldn't answer up until birth. And when finally that door opened and I started to acknowledge it and explore it, then it gave me tremendous understanding of the rest of the story, if you will. Pieces started to screw together better. Okay? So I think that there is definitely, by observation, by way too many accounts from way too many people who have clinically documented this, that there is support, there is very tangible support for the fact that we had prior existences and that energy comes forward. So what it would look like is unresolved issues. So think about anything like right now, I have a family member who has written me off. That will be back, and she will have to deal with that. And where it will show up in the chart, there are some very clear areas around forgiveness, where
right.
Forgiveness is primary, and that's where it would show up. And the stage would be set for her to have to work through that. And I say her, and she might come back as a male, or she might come back as an alien somewhere on some other place to work this through. But it will be dealt with, and it will be set up where it has to be solved. So why not just go ahead and do it now? And that's the energy that we have in place, the most powerful energy that we've had in 500 years, supporting us. If we will just do the work that this is calling us to do, of laying good foundations and good structures. So if you could ask yourself the pondering question in the lawn chair back behind the RV, where in my life should I shore up X? Just let that sit for a minute. Because if you have an X, then there's some work that you can begin to do. And I think most of us have an X.
And that doesn't mean foundation like from here henceforth, right? You can go back and mend a foundation if you have relationships that need to be mended or, whatever. It's just building that, just tidying everything up.
That's what I've been seeing and feeling, and has been kind of the common thread, is just any areas that still need some work in your life. Like where are the vulnerable spots? So if you're dealing with relationship issues and just never been able to get relationship right, it's likely to show up there. If you still have issues around money, it's likely to show up there. If you have health issues, you've been neglecting your body, watch out.
And career. There's so many people very, very disgruntled with their jobs or their careers right now.
I've said a lot of relationships are going to change around this. A lot of people are going to change geography around this, and a lot of people are going to change jobs around this.
Oh, you know what else? Love this one. How many people are having spiritual awakenings now?
Big time.
Wow. It just seems like
Popcorn.
Yeah. And again, those can be brutal in the moment. Once you get through that, the transformation is amazing, but boy, going through it sure is not.
And, that's why you have to have a good support system and a regular spiritual practice. Because if you're fending against this alone, I wonder about these people. I mean, it is a lonely journey right now.
Right. And when you're going through that kind of a transformation, even the people that you have thought of as your support system may be shifting. So you really have to be open and look for like-minded people. So
that's a good point. And one of the things that you could do is evaluate that area of your life. Do you need a little bit of extra support? And if you do, then go hang out in places where there are like-minded people.
Physically and electronically.
Agreed. And I think this is a time that is the value of a close friend is huge right now. Another thing is that regular spiritual practice. And if you are not doing something at least every couple of days, I'm not saying daily, but if you do daily, great. If you don't, at least several times a week, where you are doing something, that thing that most nurtures your soul.
I think the real importance of that is with these transitions, especially if your relationships are changing and those close group of friends that you've always had are changing, nobody really is getting you. And even those people that think they do really don't know what you're going through. So that relationship that you have with yourself and your higher consciousness or higher power, whatever you want to call that, is paramount right now.
So tell them to listen to this podcast so that you're all on the same page.
And you can
know
meditate
what we're talking
together.
About. Exactly. So this really is. I've cranked it up, and as you know, and several of you have already asked for that little Kundalini routine that I've been doing in the mornings. If you would like that, it's a PDF, and then I have a video from Hemet that we shot in New Mexico together, and then I have a little playlist on Spotify that I've been creating, and it's up to about, 15 hours of music that's accumulated there. It's plenty for your routine. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, so
it's
you don't
meditate
enough for 15 hours. Let's just be real clear.
No, I've got a nice jukebox there that you won't hear the same thing over and over. And I'll be glad to send that to you. Just email me, thomas@subconsciousmindmastery.com, and I'll shoot that out to you. That has made a big difference for me. Majona got real serious about her meditation practice about, a month, 6 weeks ago.
I don't know. My guides were really on me about that. So, there we go. And it's been amazing.
And, back to the namesake of this podcast, something that has been coming up are old, embedded, subconscious programs or memories.
And buried.
And I'm talking buried. Stuff that has been layers of dirt over it, right? Yeah. These are solidly entombed in your consciousness that are coming up as well. And they will hit you from nowhere.
Won't see them coming. But, I think they're coming up for a reason. And although they might be very painful, very ugly, it's there for a reason. That doesn't mean you have to go digging up bones. That reason may be simply to acknowledge it, to be able to heal a part of yourself that you've repressed, an opportunity to practice forgiveness and move on.
Yeah, that's the key, is to not resist these things, because, it's like you might as well go surfing. If there's going to be a hurricane coming in, now that we get to see all this live coverage of Jim Cantori and everybody else standing on the beach during the hurricane, and what do we see? The surfers. Right? So if there's going to be a storm, you might as well get out there and you might as well ride the waves instead of resisting it.
Besides not resisting it, also don't get all caught up in it. Don't victimize, don't blame, don't become a story. Just observe it, do the work, and release it.
So when these things show up, the best first place to go, they click, just get this ingrained, is when you open that letter or receive that information or see that post online or get that phone call, that you just run it immediately through this filter. This is that energy. And then you start to think about, where's the foundation? What do I need to shore up X in this related to this area? Start to do your deep work. Start to go inside and ask your subconscious mind what it wants to release, what it wants to resolve. Because there's a deep inner part of you that wants to heal. And this energy is bringing that out and bringing synchronicities, i.e. events, into your life that will help resolve these issues. This is ultimately not negative, like Majona said. This is ultimately positive. We just have to ride the wave.
So, calling all procrastinators. Take action. I'm looking in the mirror as I say that. You can either, speaking from experience, take action on this now or brush it under the rug and let it come back up in your face again. It's all about taking action, solidifying, building foundation.
You know, I'm narrating this audiobook for Steve Forrest, and I just love his writing style. And he's talking about this relative to just our life struggles, you know, when these things come up. And he's talking about doing the work. And he says it is hard work. And if we choose not to bother with it, the universe shrugs its eternal shoulders. We're always free to learn things the hard way. It's like universe is saying, I was trying to help. Okay, let's do it the hard way. Yep. Your choice, right? So that's the key. Be resilient. Don't resist. Do it the easy way. All right, we will keep on this as things come up.
Yeah, it'd be like the breaking news right here.
As we see it. And you keep in touch with us on the Facebook page, subconsciousmindmastery.com. Hop over and get on Majona's Life After Life Facebook page as well. There are really great conversations going on in there. And you can always just shoot an email, thomas@subconsciousmindmastery.com. Thanks so much for listening to this one.
Enjoy the journey.